Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I have an interesting story from, of all places, Fox News. Let me check my sound. Guys, that's why I check my sound. If you dig what I'm putting down, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course you can always support the patron. I do shows all the time, so also hit the little button at the bottom. This is not necessarily a live show, but usually my shows are live. There's not a lot of meat on this bone. I just thought this was an interesting story. Ex-Navy sailor pardoned by Trump says he's suing Comey and Obama. He's suing both. I'm suing Comey and Obama. What it boils down to is he took a picture of where he was on a Navy ship. He was on some kind of submarine. They prosecuted him and put him in prison. Donald Trump comes behind and pardons him. Good. He should. That's perfectly okay. I see no issue with that particular pardon at all. Now, angry, which I don't see why he wouldn't be angry, he says, I am going to sue Comey and I am going to sue Obama. Because in the way they prosecuted Hillary Clinton, it comes across as if there are two tiers of justice. You bent over backwards in order to read the law in a way that was beyond what was in the statute. But for me, you went to the letter of the law, and for taking a picture, you put me in a prison cell, in a cage, a human being in a cage. I was serving my goddamn country, and for this infraction, you put me in a cage. There seems to be two tiers of justice. Hillary Clinton can be told that her system, that she was using the email addresses and everything else, that stuff was susceptible to foreign intrusion. That the way she was going about it was making her data less safe. And that Comey himself agrees that it's very likely that foreign actors would have gotten in touch or gotten Hillary Clinton's information just because of the shoddy way in which she went about her affairs. Whether you want to call it negligent, whatever you want to call it, at the end of the day, she was grossly negligent. And the idea that woman walked, he gets put in prison for doing what he did, taking a picture. Hillary Clinton walks. She walks. It is very likely that foreign actors got their hands on her information, and they didn't get their hands on her information because she was following the safety precautions that she was supposed to. They got it because she wasn't. When Comey was answering questions for Trey Gowdy, and Comey, in one case after the next, had to admit that Hillary Clinton lied. Then you go to the next case of saying the way they went about it to allow that woman to walk, meaning the way they went about the case, different in the way they typically go about cases, having those cases to be done at a local level as opposed to be done in this kind of top-down way. He has qualms. Whether or not this case has legs is a separate question as opposed to the case itself. I think the case is interesting. If you're trying to show that there are two tiers of justice, well, that's what he's trying to show with the case. Will that work? Also, this is Fox News. What I mean by that is Fox News is perfectly okay with showing stuff that's attacking the Obama administration. It will never, ever, 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 ever show something like that from the standpoint of attacking a Republican president that they are behind. These guys are hacks. Just because they're going after this particular administration that you may not necessarily like doesn't necessarily mean that these guys are on board or these guys are on the one or these guys are a decent source of information. They're hacks. They're a decent source of information only from the context when that decent information is attacking the other party, if that makes sense. Meaning when Obama is putting weapons in the hands of terrorists in a foreign country, Fox News can be on that story because it's attacking Obama. They will not necessarily get into the point that Donald Trump is giving weapons to Nazis and that those Nazis are in Ukraine having rallies. This is, to some degree, how it's done. If you are ensconced in one particular side, then the only thing you see is from that particular side. And you look at this and you say, motherfucker, Obama put that guy in prison and he was in the military. He was just taking a picture. How dare he? And if you're fully on the board in that bad wagon of Hillary Clinton and everything else, then you may fully just look at this from one very specific side, not accepting that this organization is full of hacks. To some degree, all organizations have a bias. Everybody. You can't get away from it. The very fact of looking and perceiving the world means that you're looking and perceiving the world with some level of a filter. Objectivity doesn't exist. Some people get closer to reality than others, but ultimately, you can never actually get there. It's not so much that honest and reasonable people can't look at reality and come to some semblance of what it is. The problem becomes that these people become politically biased actors that have something in the mix that they want to get across, or a hatchet that they want to put in this back of the other party. This is an axe that they're trying to put inside the Obama administration or on Obama. That being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that each and everything that they come out with is wrong. I don't think they should have put this man in a cage for taking a picture. I don't. But fact is, if you're going to put this man in a cage for taking a picture, and if Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, literally has an email server because she doesn't want people to see her information, and so she keeps a server in her basement, you put this guy in prison for taking a picture. She intentionally, that woman was the president's wife, and that woman was Secretary of State. That woman has been hanging around the White House. She's been a senator. She knows goddamn well that she's not supposed to do that. She shouldn't have had anybody or needed to have anybody to tell her, hey, putting a server in your basement may be somewhat insecure. It may be somewhat insecure. Hillary walks. This guy gets put in a cage. Ex-Navy sailor pardoned by Trump says he's suing Comey and Obama. The only reason they're running this story is because he was pardoned by Trump, and it looks good because it looks ridiculous that you put the man in a cage for taking a goddamn picture, a selfie. A former Navy sailor who was one of 5 people to receive a pardon from President Donald Trump is planning to file a lawsuit against the Obama administration officials alleging that he was subject to unequal protection under the law. Specifically, Christian Saucer, who served a year in federal prison for taking photos of classified sections of the submarine on which he worked, argues that the same officials who meted out punishment to him for his actions chose to be lenient with Hillary Clinton in her use of a private email server and handing out classified information. That's true. That's true. His lawyer, Ronald Daigle, told Fox News on Monday that the lawsuit, which he expects to file soon in Manhattan, will name the U.S. Department of Justice, former FBI Director James Comey, and former President Barack Obama a defendant, among others. They interpreted the law in my case to say it was criminal. Saucier told Fox News, referring to the prosecuting authorities in the case, but they didn't prosecute Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is still walking free. 2 guys on my ship did the same thing and weren't treated as criminals. We wanted them to correct the wrong. Daigle said the notice about the pending lawsuit was sent to the Department of Justice and others, including December. There is usually a 6-month period that must lapse before the lawsuit is actually filed. We'll highlight the differences in the way Hillary Clinton was prosecuted and how my client was prosecuted, Daigle said. We're seeking to cast a light on this to show that there's a 2-tier justice system and we want it to be corrected. While campaigning and after taking office, Trump frequently voiced support for Saucier, who in March became the second person pardoned. Trump often compared the Obama administration handling of Saucier's case with that of Clinton. Saucier, who lives in Vermont, pleaded guilty in 2016 to taking photos inside the USS Alexandra while it was stationed in Groton, Connecticut in 2009. He said he only wanted service mementos, but federal prosecutors argued that he was a disgruntled sailor who had put national security at risk by taking photos showing the submarine's propulsion system and reactor compartment, and then obstructed justice by destroying the laptop in the camera. Hillary Clinton literally put an email server in her basement, most likely because she didn't want people to see information going back and forth from the standpoint of the Clinton Foundation. You can kind of understand why once the WikiLeaks documents revealed that information. Whatever her reasoning, that's the reason I think, but whatever her reasoning, she put a server in her basement after those people told her not to do that. And you didn't really need anybody to tell you not to do that. They went after this guy. They put this guy in prison. Called the guy disgruntled and saying he was obstructing justice. Hillary Clinton deleted some of those emails. There were thousands of those emails that woman deleted. This is mind-blowing. This is mind-blowing. How are you going to treat this guy? This is mind-blowing. This guy's right. This guy's right. I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. Saucier said that he recognized he had erred in taking the photos, which he said he only wanted to show his family to show them where he worked. But he lashed out at Obama officials, saying that his prosecution was politically motivated, prompted by sensitivity about classified information amid the scandal involving Clinton's emails. He's making the point that if it wasn't for the scandal, then they would have not necessarily did this. He's trying to make the point that this was a politically motivated prosecution, saying we need to hit somebody because we let Hillary Clinton off in some odd way. My case is usually handled by military courts, he said. They use me as an example because of the backlash over Hillary Clinton. Saucier, 31, said that the pardon has enabled him to pick up the pieces and rebuild his life and his wife and young daughter. They put him in prison. Understand? They put a human being in a fucking cage while Hillary Clinton walked. Is that fair? And is that a two-tier justice system? And I think the answer to everybody no is yes. I think if you're being honest with yourself, yes. The felony conviction left him scrambling to find work. He finally landed a job collecting garbage. Now he works on design engineering projects for an insider industrial boiler company. Obama, ladies and gentlemen. This is the same president that prosecuted and tortured Manning. The same one that went after Snowden after Snowden revealed information showing that the government was breaking the law. They went after Manning and tortured him after they found out, after Manning released the video showing them murdering a Reuters agent. And this guy took a picture, a selfie, and they prosecuted him, calling him disgruntled. While Hillary Clinton, email server in her basement, all measure of governments having access to that server. The Obama administration herself knowing that she was using a private email address when they were in their interactions. And she walked. Not just walked. Comey wrote up the letter exonerating her before even talking to her. So you get this impression of them essentially letting her off and letting her walk, pretending the entire time that there was some case that was taking place and this was big revelation, and then Comey comes out and says no reasonable prosecutor will bring charges. When you found out that Zero Hedge, I can't think of the guy's name, Brian Nishimura, was prosecuted by the FBI a year prior for pretty much the same thing that Clinton got off on. I'll leave it here. I'm glad this guy was pardoned. I'm glad he was pardoned. I'm curious to see whether this lawsuit goes anywhere, if this lawsuit goes anywhere at all. This is the gentleman who we're talking about. I don't know what this guy's political ideology was before he went into prison. I would say they probably radicalized him by putting him in prison for this. And yeah, I would imagine he would be somewhat pissed off. And the question becomes, does this case have any legs at all? We don't know. We do know Fox News is probably going to be paying attention to it because they can use it to essentially hit at the previous administration. I'm more curious about this because I think the guy's right. You can't let one off while at the same time prosecuting somebody else. I can totally understand why he would be pissed off at this. So, ex-Navy, pardoned by Trump, suing Comey Obama. You prosecuted me. You let her off. This is grossly unfair. The measure to which you used to prosecute me was different than the measure and the scale that you used to prosecute her. And he is suing for 2 tiers of justice. I wasn't aware that that was a legal standard, but I don't know all legal standards. I'm just relaying the story. Fox News, grain of salt. But I suspect this guy actually does exist. And this is one of those stories that seem to just, unless they're lying about the person, and unless they're lying about the situation. So, I'll leave it here. Alright guys, if you enjoyed the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks everyone.